Dive into the heart of Cleveland's business community with the Cleveland Burning Podcast. Join me, Kim Kitchen, owner of Burning River Marketing, and Kirk Teets, owner of Cleveland Custom Coatings, as we explore the untold stories of local business owners. In this engaging series, we focus on the setbacks, accidents, and unexpected turns that pave the way for ultimate success. So just like the Cuyahoga River ignited change in the city, our podcast showcases how adversity can spark innovation and growth. Hear from passionate entrepreneurs who have braved the flames of failure and emerged stronger and more resilient. Get ready for candid conversations and a behind-the-scenes look at the business landscape in Cleveland. What's up, Kirk?
Hey, you know what happened? I was actually over at McDonald's, and I was taking a little bit of time trying to decide what I wanted, and the lady in the drive-thru behind me must have got really upset because she's honking her horn and yelling at me and everything. Yeah. So when I got up to the window to pay, I asked the lady who was taking my money, I said, is it possible that I could pay for the car behind me too? I'm going to repay. I told her, I said, she's been rude to me. I'm going to repay her rudeness with kindness. Okay. So after I paid, I took the receipt. I went up to the next window. I showed the lady at that window both receipts. I took both meals.
Oh my gosh.
You got to be careful messing with old people, you know? We've been around for a long time. We know better.
Yeah. Cool. Well, welcome to the Cleveland Burning Podcast, where we uncover stories from local professionals who've braved the flames of adversity and turned them into success. I'm your host, Kim Kitchen.
I'm your other host, Kirk Teets, and today we're interviewing JPotter from JPotter Health.
That's right. I get to introduce Jackie. So I've known Jackie now for, how long have we known each other?
6 years.
6 years? Okay, I'll go with that. So, yeah, we've known each other for a while. Jackie was just getting into business. And I've always been super impressed with Jackie and the way that she's approached her business. I'm going to ask you to tell us about your business, and I hope you'll talk about your background in chemistry, because to me, that's what ties it all together. So she is amazing at promoting what she does. And I even told Kirk when he's like, who are we interviewing? I said, it's Jackie. He's like, what does she do? I said, it's going to be a surprise. So I don't know if you're taking the CBD or the anxiety thing, but I think everything that you do fills an amazing need. And I think you're very good at making sure that you're in touch with the need of the community that you serve and kind of adapting what you're doing to fit them. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, thank you, Kim. I am a wellness coach. I specialize in anxiety. So when I started my journey of helping people, it was through cannabinoids. And that's right when the Farm Bill in 2016 passed, and it made cannabinoids derived from hemp legal.
Okay.
So
CBD. I mean, that's what we know. It's like CBD.
Sorry,
mostly.
CBD.
Yeah.
And I do have a background in science, so it worked really well for me to have that cannabinoid or CBD product to work with. I found, though, that there's no regulation, nobody is watching what's being done. It is the Wild West is what they call it. So I went and got a number of certifications. I have a background in biology and chemistry, which helped me kind of understand the science behind what was happening.
Yeah, you really nerd out with all those, what are the other third-party tests? I remember you going over a couple of them, and it showed me there's CBG and CBD. Weren't there like a bunch of different types of cannabis? That's not right. Cannabinoid?
No. Cannabinoids.
Okay.
And there's over 100 of them in the cannabis plants. And both marijuana and hemp are derived from cannabis.
Yep.
And hemp is legal. Marijuana is now becoming legal in Ohio for more than medical, but it is still not legal national. Mm-hmm. So I work more on the education route than I do. You can't just call me up and say, hey, I want a bottle of CBD.
Yeah.
So there's a bigger process involved. During the pandemic, though, and just after, the majority of my clients were contacting me for anxiety and even for their children. And we started seeing this huge growth in anxiety. And with the cannabis industry in general being the way it is.
Plus, you can buy CBD at like a gas station. I know when you first got started as a CBD coach, it was frustrating for you because you can buy CBD anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and you were getting people saying, I took the CBD and it doesn't work, or I took the CBD and it makes me nauseous. And you were like, well, that's because they're taking garbage and they don't know that so many of the stuff that's available everywhere is garbage. It's not being tested by an independent third party. You don't even know if there's any active ingredient in there, and you're just putting anything in your body. So as
Right.
long as that wasn't going to be regulated, there wasn't going to be value in hiring a CBD coach. But most of the people that you're dealing with, they're coming to you for anxiety. So you kind of pivoted and focus more on anxiety.
Yes. And that's when I went and got certified as a wellness coach and specializing in anxiety. So I have a lot of tools that I use. And the way I've designed it is it's very practical. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I don't do anything like that. So I do what's called, I help people build an anxiety toolbox. I'm very practical in my mind. That's my science background.
Okay.
So I teach you what tools are available to help you understand what's happening in your body, and then how to use those tools and what tool to grab. So it literally is like building a toolkit.
So I might have a better word for you than toolbox, but I
Okay.
forget what it is. I just learned a word that you guys said in one of the last episodes.
Gang box.
Gang box. So a gang box is a big toolbox. And
Okay.
it sounds like way better than toolbox.
It
So you
does.
could be
That's impressive.
building gang boxes for anxiety. Although that might bring anxiety to tell somebody you're building a gang box.
So I have a question. There's a
Yeah.
lot of disputes back and forth on whether you can actually overdose on marijuana or not. And with that being said, when I was a teenager, I was smoking some marijuana with some friends of mine, and we actually lost one of our friends. I mean, don't feel too bad. We found him later at Dairy Queen. He was spending all of his money on ice cream, but aside from that, do you know of an overdose ability on marijuana?
No. Now you do have people go to the hospital. You can get sick, and any overdoses that I'm aware of that have ever happened with marijuana is because it was laced with something,
Right.
which is why we want to make it legal,
So that it can be
regulated. Yeah.
Well, and I remember one of the things you told me about the plant itself. I think hemp and marijuana both are, there's a word, it was like super absorbent. Basically, like if you have an oil spill in your field, the best way to get all of the oil out of the field is to plant marijuana or cannabis. Because what is the word for that? Where it takes everything out of the soil?
They're called bioaccumulator
Told you
plants.
she's smart. She knows big words.
So what it does is it pulls all the nutrients, or I should say everything, out of the ground that it's grown in. So you use marijuana to cleanse your ground when you have problems, or when you're rotating crops and things like that.
But if there's anything in the soil that might be bad, it's also going to become part of the plant that you're smoking. So if it's not regulated and it's not being grown in a regulated environment, then there's a possibility that you aren't necessarily overdosing, but you might be getting a dose of metallic or whatever. Maybe there was like let's say you had Roundup in your ground before, and now you're like, oh, well, we're going to start planting marijuana there. Well, whatever chemicals in Roundup you might be smoking it, right? I mean,
right. And actually, I could see that becoming an issue right after it becomes legal in the state, because you're allowed to plant your own crops.
Oh, no.
You're allowed to grow up to, I think, 12 plants per household. So if you start growing plants in your backyard and you've been using chemical fertilizers, yeah, it's going to pick up all of those fertilizers. It'll pick up any heavy metals or mold in the environment it's growing in.
Oh, boy.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we try to warn everybody about the theme of our podcast. And, I think everybody on their way to success, and everybody's success is different. You have a lot of stumbling blocks, issues, problems, things that almost make you reconsider. I always like to say, you don't wish for an easier life. You wish for the ability to overcome harder problems. Right.
Okay.
So part of our podcast is about overcoming problems to become successful. Would you mind sharing with us sometime you felt like you were in the middle of a train wreck, or maybe reconsidering what you're doing and how you overcame that?
Sure. The one that really flies up to me is after, as I was making this transition from CBD only to anxiety and using CBD as part of a mechanism, I thought I have this course in my brain that would be great for people, 8 weeks to end anxiety. So I named it before I built it. I decided we would do this in 8 weeks. I had all kinds of printing done. I then start to build the course. And I have to figure out what platform am I going to use? How am I going to make the videos? So I had to learn all of these things. I found myself waking up at 3 a.m. to have the time to record all of the videos I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So as this starts coming together, it becomes a behemoth. It was over 100 courses, like 100.
That would give me anxiety just buying the course. Like
Right. So
100.
all of a sudden, yeah. And I'm like, 8 weeks to get this done. I couldn't even give it away to people to try it because they would they'd say, yeah, I'll do this. And I'm like, I'll give it to you for free if you do it and give me feedback. Tell me how this is. I couldn't even get people to do it for free because it was so many, and they're like, 8 weeks. I work full time. Are you kidding me? And so nobody made it through the first couple weeks of this huge monstrosity that I created. And I spent probably 4 months doing this.
Oh.
And that's 4 months I was paying for all this stuff, all the different parts to pull it together. And
in the
4
meantime,
months
you're
I'm
not getting your
working.
CBD coaching. You're not reaching out. Yeah.
And so I'm letting the CBD fall off, which I was okay with because I'm trying to build
transition,
the anxiety. So I'm like, okay, I can't build unless I make room for it. But then I'm not selling it. And needless to say, it was the worst 9 months decision I've made professionally ever.
Yeah.
And I started a business in the beginning of a pandemic, and this was still what I look at as my worst decision.
I mean, it's a good learning, though. I mean, did you learn from it?
Well, yeah. Aside from drinking, I learned
Aside from drinking.
Kind of really evaluate what I was doing. And I had to really shift. I think as I look back on it, I was using that course and building that course as an excuse.
Escape, like
to
not transition
sell.
your business.
Yeah. Well, I'll be successful if I just get this done. And I know the only way you can be successful is to be out there talking to people and selling your skill.
Yeah.
So that's like, it was a really rough time to get to where I am now, which is, just make the calls, talk to people, don't worry about the outcome. Mm-hmm. I don't even worry about actually selling anymore.
Just look for people that
it's just, if I have 40 conversations a month, I have a business.
I found out starting this company that I'm doing, being busy and being productive are two different things. And you can find yourself getting wrapped up in a lot of things that are not productive.
Right.
Yep. Agreed. So I used to do telemarketing in the mortgage industry, and we always called it phone avoidance because people would organize their desk so it was perfect. I mean, everything had a post-it and everything had a different color coded. So whenever you would see somebody get up and get all the different color folders and the post-its, you knew they were just doing phone avoidance, right?
Right.
They just didn't want to pick up the phone and start making the dials, which it's the same thing you're saying. You just got to talk to people. And we do get sidetracked as business owners. And it's hard to identify when this project is actually going to help my business, or is this project taking me away from my business because there's something on the other side of this project that I'm actually avoiding.
Right.
So I do that frequently.
Yeah.
I actually go back and regularly reevaluate what I've been doing all week. It's been my new practice.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's just to look at that and say, what did I do this week? How productive was it? And how could I have changed that so I could be more productive to actually achieve things? And it does force you to get into things you probably are avoiding.
Yeah, analyze your time.
I remember one time, in order to avoid making my calls, part of that talk to 40 people a month, I was trying to do outreach, and I said, okay, I'm going to do like 10 outreach every day. So instead of actually doing the outreach, I decided that I needed to wrap, I have no idea where this came from, but I needed to wrap paper clips with tape so they wouldn't snag on each other.
Oh my gosh.
And put them in from one bowl, like, here's where I'm starting. So I had 10 paper clips, and this is where I end. And that's how I'm going to know that I did 10 calls.
Yeah.
And it was clearly avoidance. I managed to avoid not making phone calls for 2 hours because I was wrapping paper clips. So I am really good at that avoidance thing. Yeah.
But you've identified it now, and it's fun because you'll call me sometimes and I'll be like, what's going on in your day? And you're like, well, I have a lot to do, so I'm just calling you to avoid getting started.
Right. Yeah.
But we know that sort of part of the routine is, you know, indulge in this little conversation and then get to work. And that's usually how we end all of our conversations is like, okay, let's get to work. And it's kind of like, yes, let's do this. So I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that you've got all this content now that still is going to help people that have anxiety. It's still going to help your target market. There's a possibility. I know you laugh, but I mean, it's not like anxiety content doesn't get old, right? And with the pandemic, I was talking to these guys before you came, and I said, anxiety is real. I mean, it's as real as a heart attack. I mean, I luckily do not suffer from anxiety attacks, but I know that people do, and they have, and that it's a real physical reaction to this weird thing going on in your body that's like a fight or flight. And I think it's only happening more. The pandemic allowed us to stay inside and not interact with people. And now between DoorDash, you don't need to go out to get something to eat. You've got your groceries that can be delivered to you. You can work from home. So you're really, you know, getting into this ability to make yourself a little cave where you don't interact with people. And then when you do, I feel like anxiety is only going to be on the rise. So all of these courses that you've done, you could potentially turn them into, you know, maybe email marketing, email blasts, or social media posts, or still have the course when you aren't avoiding work and turn it into something. Are you giving up entirely on your 8-week course, or could you maybe repurpose some of your content?
Actually, I think what I'm going to do is start a membership aspect of it. Yeah, where people come in for, you know, a low cost every month, and they would have access to the content, and then I can just start adding the content.
Right. Especially if you had a library, then maybe I'm sure people have different things when they're dealing with anxiety, and so maybe the library will help them to kind of pick what they're dealing with and what might be helpful.
Oh yeah, I've got like over 300 worksheets I created that people can do.
So much fun. 300 worksheets.
I know.
I think what you think is great and what regular people think is great is a little different.
Well, I was really excited.
I would be in a matter of an avoidance on that. That would be one of the things.
You might be giving people anxiety by giving them so much work to do.
Well, I think that's kind of what happened with the course. It's definitely not 8 weeks to end anxiety. I think it could be.
7 breaths. You said at any point in time, you're like 7 breaths away from what?
Starting to feel calm.
Yeah. So that sounds
if you breathe
more
right.
pitchable. Like you just get to teach people 7 breaths.
Right.
That we do like to leave on some kind of a fun note. Do you have something about your business now that you're promoting, or anything fun going on, a funny story, anything new?
With my business, well, I am starting the membership site, so I'm hoping to have that up and running in December. And so anybody who hears the podcast, if they get in touch with me.
There's like 15 people now that might be listening.
Okay. Well, those 15 people can have a month for free once it's up and running if they let me know.
Did you subscribe? You didn't. I see it in her eye. I mean, we've only done 6 or 7 podcasts, I think, as long as you don't count our first 3. So it's growing.
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah.
Well, you could subscribe.
I will definitely as soon as I get home.
I couldn't even get for Thanksgiving. I told my kids about it. And Alexis was really, she was impressed that my picture was on Spotify because I showed her, and she was like, "Mom, your picture's on Spotify." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Subscribe." She's like, "No."
Are there all of their subscriptions like to the public so everybody would see?
I'm still learning how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think people can see who's subscribed or who hasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I meant like for Alexis probably doesn't want to show that she's following her mom.
Oh, right. That's true.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They don't even, well, we have even a different last name. So, you know,
right.
Because
I think you're cool, but
yeah, they don't think I'm cool at all.
So.
Yeah, most kids don't think their parents are cool at all.
Nope.
So when you were studying this CBD, did you consume it to see how it affected you?
Oh. She used to give me gummies, and they're totally legal, and she would say, I need you, this is something, I don't, like, she would be like, I just need you to be my guinea pig. Before I can prescribe this to people, I just want to know how it goes for you. So I don't know what I'm doing. So I, take a gummy and I wait for like an hour at least, and like nothing is happening. So I take another gummy, and then another half hour later, it was just not, I'm not a fan.
No, and I actually, part of my anxiety, I can't have anything that has THC or any mind altering. It affects my anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So
because you don't have control. That's what I don't like about it. Like I just was like, I need to go to bed. I want to be over with this.
Right. I don't like it. So I have to rely on people that I can trust to explain what the feeling is for them, because I know on paper that a product looks good, but I don't know how it's going to react with the terpenes and things like that. The other parts of the profile have different reactions to different people. And I have found out the hard way that I don't agree well with it. I remember one time.
What do you mean agree well with it?
Well, it kicks my anxiety and.
Oh, you don't agree? Yeah. So. It's not good for you.
No, I had taken a gummy and they were very tasty, and I didn't realize I had eaten a couple of them.
Oh, they are good.
And they kicked in the middle of a meeting because I'd forgotten that I had done it. It was so, hours before that.
Long.
It takes a very long time. And I became very enthralled with the little light on the laptop during my meeting. It was not a winning moment for me. And then spent the next few hours in anxiety mode.
Yeah.
So I did not enjoy it. But I do have a lot of clients who use them for sleep because they take so long to kick in. About the time you start waking up, they're kicking in and you get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
I also have some who enjoy it for other reasons, but that's that's a big one with the gummies.
I found, so for the longest time, I was like, I don't think I'm feeling anything, because I was supposed to be her guinea pigs. I'm supposed to be taking notes, I'm like, I don't think I'm feeling anything. I don't think I'm feeling anything. Rory and I are watching TV, and I noticed all the commercials are really lame. I'm like, these commercials are so lame. They're kind of like billboards, but are we supposed to be believing that Flo is really, like, it's obviously, that other girl is obviously still Flo that's acting like her sister? So I'm like really picking apart these commercials. But in my mind, I'm still like, I don't feel anything. I'm just annoyed with TV. And, then we start watching a show. This acting is so bad. This is not entertaining to me. So I'm getting angry at how bad the acting is and how I'm supposed to be believing this trash that they're putting on television. And then I realized when I got up to get ice cream, like, I am feeling something. Like this annoyance with television is me being affected by the gummies. And then I was just, I need to go to sleep. So So
that was one of the biggest problems they had in Colorado when they made it legal recreationally, is that people were consuming it, not feeling anything, consuming more, not feeling anything, consuming more, and then they would end up in the hospital because they were so much product in their body that it was affecting them in a very bad way.
Yep.
I wasn't a big fan of them legalizing it here in Ohio. Basically because, like you said earlier, it's not federally legal. And the issue that happens is that as a commercial painter, we've already painted a few of these dispensaries. And one of the biggest things they do, almost before they even build the store, they build the vault. And the vault is to store the money that they cannot put into the bank because the banks are federally insured and it's federally illegal. So as far as the bank is concerned, that's illegal money. So that's a lot of the reason why the housing market has gone up. It started in like I said, in Colorado, and it's been moving across the country. That the way that they're filtering that money to make it legal again is overpaying for houses, so they lose a little money, but it's raising values of the homes and everything, and caused a lot of problems for people by raising the value of those houses.
I didn't know that.
He's
Absolutely
blaming marijuana for inflation.
Okay.
I mean,
it's part of it. There's other
there
reasons, but
be.
this is definitely an issue. It definitely stands as an issue.
Yeah,
you had a hard time getting like payments, didn't you? Because
Yes.
you were attached, and CBD was legal and still is legal, but you still, just because it was connected to the industry, you were having a hard time getting like a credit card processor and all that.
Yeah, I had really struggled with it for a while, and now I don't deal with it that much, so it's not
anxiety.
an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt like I had to do like a buyer's club almost.
I feel like they need to make it federally legal. And then they can move forward with it, and there'd be a banking you know, it would be great for the economy, great for the government. There's a lot of good there, but until they make it federally legal, I don't think that it being state legal is a great thing, personally.
No, that makes sense. There isn't anything else that is legal in states but not legal federally, right? Because it's just creating a nightmare administratively and especially financially in the banking industries.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we always like to end on a good note, right?
Yeah, we do.
So is there anything else that you have going on that you'd like to talk about? Anything you want to plug? Maybe how people can get a hold of you some way, something that how you help?
Sure, I do. Well, I work with people one-on-one, so I have like different programs they can sign up to work with me. If they have like one thing that they're trying to get through, we can do a quick session and usually unlock whatever's going on and show them a few techniques to get moving through it.
Yeah.
I started doing lives again with other people that help people in anxiety in different ways. So
What do you mean lives? Like Facebook Live?
Lives.
Okay.
Yes, sorry. So I've interviewed like death doulas who help people at end of life. And
Did you know about death doulas? Yeah. Do you know what a doula is?
Like a birthing doula.
So a doula is kind of, I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's like somebody like so typically they help you with the birth, and they're the ones that kind of advocate for you when you're giving birth. So now they have death doulas who I imagine would advocate for you being like how you want to die.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's end of life work.
Another episode about death. We've got to weed these people out more. No more talking about death.
I like how you use the word "weed them out" in the conversation.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah. So I think in a couple weeks I've got someone she's a coach for menopausal women. How's that for not talking about death?
Right.
Menopausal women's diet and exercise, and just helping them get through all of the things that are happening in their body, which again causes a lot of anxiety. Anytime a woman looks in a mirror, it can be anxiety ridden.
Cool. There you go. We'll end it on a fun note. Menopause.
That was exactly what I wanted to talk about. Yes.
Well, thank you. We love your story, Jackie. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope our listeners are inspired by your stories as well. And don't forget to tune in for more interviews with local professionals as we continue to discuss initial failures that contributed to eventual triumph in the world of business. And if you enjoyed today's episode, and we hope you did, please subscribe.
You subscribe, we'll get you some gummies.
That's right. And leave us a review, because we're pretty sure that helps us to reach even more listeners. So until next time, remember that every train wreck can be a stepping stone to something extraordinary. And thanks again for joining us on the Cleveland Burning Podcast.
We'll see you next time.